What the hell was that? God. I can't. I can't. I'm... Fuck. And I thought Going Overboard was bad. This takes the cake. This movie... You know, for all the social media out there that is all for canceling stuff, canceling this, canceling that, can we cancel this movie out of existence? Please? Movie 43. Can we cancel this movie out of existence? I thought Going Overboard was very bottom of the barrel. It's low budget. Adam Sandler's first movie. But this movie, you take all these actors and put them in different segments that are directed by these different directors, and it's really bad comedy. I look at this cast, I mean, let me get the cast up real quick. Now, the version which I watched, because funny enough, this movie's on YouTube. I know in the cast, I saw Hugh Jackman, Kate Winslet, and I know, like, Dennis Quaid, Greg Kinnear, Common, Will Sasso, Seth MacFarlane. I did not see those people in this movie, but what I did watch was just so god awful. And this movie has a 4.3 on IMDb. A 4.3. For all the people in this cast, for all the people that participated in this garbage, to me holds more weight. Going Overboard, which I just ranted on, is bad, but being that this film just came out a few years ago, and you have all these people in the cast, the likes of Hugh Jackman, Kate Winslet, Liev Schreiber, Naomi Watts, Anna Faris, Chris Pratt, Emma Stone, Richard Gere, Kate Bosworth. You also have Justin Long, Uma Thurman, Christian Bale, Sean William Scott, Johnny Knoxville, Chloe Grace Moritz, you know, Hit Girl from Kick-Ass, Patrick Warburton, Gerard Butler, Halle Berry, Terrence Howard, Josh Duhamel, Elizabeth Banks. Again, names that you know. And I can't wrap my head around Why did they make this movie? Why was this made? Why does this movie exist? I can't fathom why this has a 4.3 on IMDb. To me, it's way too high. Going Overboard, which I, again, just ranted on, has a 1.8. Being that all these people, talent in this movie, I can't wrap my head around why they participated in this garbage. And to me, that holds more weight. Because, again, you got the likes of people like Hugh Jackman in here. And basically, to break it down, because what I'm about to get into and describe is going to be weird. Basically, this movie is you take 12 directors, including the Fairleys, Griffin Dunn, Brett Ratner, and it's a collection of outrageous spoofs and stories. And it's interconnected short films that, have it goes from segment to segment. And it features some of the biggest stars. And it was not funny. It's garbage, trash. I don't give this movie a D or E. I give this a F for fuck. As in, fuck this movie. As in, hashtag cancel movie 43. And again, I just can't fathom. There's some reviews on IMDb that say that this movie is funny, it's clever, it's great. I don't get it. To me, this is one of the worst comedies. And I said that about Going Overboard. I thought, okay, this is the worst comedy. And this is right there with it. Just as bad, or if not worse, than Going Overboard. But again, I mentioned the story to this collection of this movie is pretty much a collection of segments. And again, I did not see the ones that featured Dennis Quaid and Greg Kinnear, because the one that I watched, basically throughout the film, in between these segments, you have these kids that are pretty much trying to find this movie. And Fisher Stevens from Short Circuit 2 and Super Mario Brothers, he'll pop in once in a while on the computer. I'm like, hey, is this Hackers? No, which is a movie I much rather watch. Because he was a villain in that. But, okay. And first off, the kids are annoying. And they're trying to find this movie. Actually, let me open up the blinds. Because I need some light. There you go. It's a little bit better. But like I said, the kids are annoying here. And the first segment, and I am going off notes here because I had to write this down. Because, again, what I'm about to go into is insane. But you have Hugh Jackman in the first segment, or in the beginning of the film. In this segment, you have Hugh Jackman and Kate Winslet on a blind date, and Hugh Jackman has a scarf around his neck. And then when they sit at the table and he takes it off, what does he have? A damn ball sack hanging from the bottom of his chin, like a turkey woggle. Yeah, a ball sack. A nut sack. And Kate Winslet's horrified by it. She's trying to shrug it off, but she's horrified by the nut sack that is hanging from Wolverine's fucking sideburns. Or whatever. Again, it's hanging right here. And I'm kind of surprised, as I'm going through this movie, I'm like, I am surprised that this film wasn't a career killer for some of these people that were involved here. I mean, and we'll talk about Chris Pratt, because just a year later he would do Guardians of the Galaxy, and he's coming off of this movie. I am surprised that this movie didn't kill some careers. But again, Hugh Jackman, he has a nut sack hanging from the bottom of his chin, and he's eating soup, where he gets soup on his nutsack, and he'll like do like this, and I'm like, what? And then there's a scene where his balls start to shrivel because it's getting cold in the restaurant. So you literally see his nutsack shrivel. And then some people come in and they talk to Kate Winslet, some people that she knows. And they have a baby, and they let Hugh Jackman hold the baby. And his nutsack is like, he's holding the baby like this, and this nutsack that's hanging from his chin is on the baby's head. And the baby drops a pacifier. He reaches down, and his ball sack chin woggle is in the soup. And then you get to the next segment, which is probably the worst one of the segments in this movie. You have Lee Schreiber and Naomi Watts, their parents, and they homeschool their kid, but pretty much at home, they try to make it like high school, that they don't want their kid alienated by, public school. So while they're homeschooling their kid, they're also abusing their kid. Like, for example, they would torture, there's one scene where, for instance, he's in the shower. Lee Schreiber, again, is his dad, and he opens up the curtain, and he's like, whoa, you got weird pubes. Honey, come up here. Look at his pubes. And next thing you know it, their kid is tied up on a pole, and his dad, Lee Schreiber, and the kid has no shirt on, and the words "freshman sucks" written in shit on his chest here. And his dad's like, what do you suck? As he's filming his kid tied up. And the kid's like, I suck dicks. So, and then he gets to another scene where Naomi Watts is on the bed with their kid, and Naomi Watts is trying to make out with this kid, with their own son. Oh, do you have protection? That's what Naomi Watts says. It's like they try to play it out like, like it's regular high school, and I'm like, this is abusive. Someone throw these parents in jail. This is abuse and incest. And then his dad is trying to hit on him. And I'm like, let's just please. At this point, I'm like, oh my God. Then we get to the other segment. And if it's about to rain, yeah, it's probably going to rain here soon. But cut to the next segment. You have Anna Faris and Chris Pratt. They're at a picnic. And I don't know who directed which segments, and honestly, I don't care. But Anna Faris, again, it seems innocent at first that they're having this picnic on the grass, and Anna Faris from Scary Movie is like, will you poop on me? So she's into scat play. And Chris Pratt is going back and forth in his mind about doing it. And then you cut where to, he's having a barbecue, and he's talking to his buddies about, this woman wants me to poop on her. And his buddies are like, why don't you eat some Mexican food? So they give him some Turbolax. Says, you're the one man poop. You're the one poop man. So they could speed up the process of him trying to, it's building up to where Chris Pratt is wants to take a shit on Anna Faris while they're getting kinky. So you have one or two scenes where he's eating burritos and drinking Turbolax and getting gassed up and gassy, and you have Chris Pratt farting. And then when they're in the bed, Chris is ready to take a shit on Anna Faris. And then Anna Faris hops on Chris Pratt, and he's getting gassy. And just when he's about to take a shit on Anna Faris runs out, Chris Pratt goes after her. Long story short, Chris Pratt gets hit by a car and it explodes. He takes a big shit on the car and there's shit all over the windshield. I keep thinking to that scene in Dumber and Dumber with Bob Saget. You know, you're the guy that crapped up my house. Yeah, that should have been Bob Saget. Just got out of the car and beat the shit out of Chris Pratt for shitting up the car. But I'd much rather watch that. You can say that's dumb, but I can have dumb fun with that. This movie, you have A-listers, and it's unfunny and the trashiest of the trash. It's very bottom of the barrel. And like I said, Chris Pratt gets hit by the car and he explodes shit all over the car. Then you cut to another segment where you have Kieran Culkin and Emma Stone in the supermarket having dialogue back and forth that just doesn't make no sense and goes nowhere. Then you cut to another segment where you have Justin Long in a Robin outfit. Again, this is a whole different segment. Jason Sudeikis, the guy from Horrible Bosses, as Batman. You have Uma Thurman in there. Supergirl, who is played by Christian Bale. And Batman is under the table looking at Supergirl's snatch. Meanwhile, talking to Robin. And then, long story short, by the end, because the Penguin is in there, not Danny DeVito, some other guy. And they get into it. And then turns out that it was the Riddler wearing a Supergirl disguise because Justin Long is making out with Supergirl, but it was the Riddler. And again, you cut to more of these kids talking to Fisher Stevens on the computer. Even there's a line in the film where Fisher Stevens is like, this movie can bring down society as we know it. Yeah, this movie definitely can. And again, I'm surprised. Yeah, this movie definitely... But anyway. And then you cut to another segment where you have the iBabe stuff going on. And I'm sorry if it's not, bright in here or whatever, but that's when you bring in Richard Gere in a meeting and talking about this iBabe thing. And then I know I'm kind of getting ahead, but you also have another segment where you have Sean William Scott and Johnny Knoxville beating up a leprechaun who was played by Gerard Butler. And they want a pot of gold. And they're beating up this leprechaun to get a pot of gold. And, out of the segments, that's the one that kind of, it's not good at all. But at the same time, it's like, okay, Johnny Knoxville and Sean William Scott, I like those two guys, but it's still not good. And then you cut to the next segment where you have Halle Berry on this date with Stephen Merchant, and they play Truth or Dare. And then, because they're playing Truth and Dare, it's getting bigger and bigger. Like, Halle Berry dares the guy to, pinch this other guy at the bar, pinch his ass. And Stephen Merchant dares Halle Berry to blow out this birthday cake, this blind kid's birthday cake, the candles. And then it starts to get bigger and bigger with the dares to where Halle Berry gets Botox. And then there's one scene where Halle Berry is making guacamole with her tit. And you can tell it's fake, but still, the thought of it. Halle Berry mixing guacamole with her breast. And ultimately, the segment ends where, Halle Berry has Botox, Stephen Merchant's face. Like I think to make him more Asian. And then they get it on. Oh, and I almost forgot that Halle, in that same scene before the segment ended, that she exposed her breasts and her boobs are like this big. And then, You got another segment in there where Terrence Howard is the coach of this team, and this is where like the last 30 minutes of the film, I'm like, man, this is really torturous. I'm just ready to, I sort of skim some stuff. I mean, I watched a great chunk of this movie, but man, I was struggling. And then again, you got Terrence Howard with his team, and then you cut to the very end where you have Josh Duhamel and his cartoon cat, which is really bad animation. And the cartoon cat has a thing for Josh Duhamel, but Elizabeth Banks, the cat does not like Elizabeth Banks. So Elizabeth Banks and this cartoon cat, they get into some fights, whatever. Then the cartoon cat pisses on Elizabeth Banks. Elizabeth Banks gets hits by a truck. The cartoon cat has a shotgun, tries to take out Elizabeth Banks, but Elizabeth Banks kills the cat. And at this birthday party, these children jump on Elizabeth Banks because of what she did to the cat, and they kill her. And the movie ends with Josh Duhamel making out with this cartoon cat. And now all of what I just said there, it makes no sense. And makes you go, what the hell? That's this movie. That's movie 43. If you don't believe me, go see for yourself. If you don't believe me, please. I struggled through this movie. Going overboard, which I just did, that was bad. Again, that was very, I keep saying this, bottom of the barrel. But this film was worse. It's like all this talent in there, the likes of Richard Gere, and again, I didn't see the stuff with Dennis Quaid and Greg Kinnear, but you know, seeing Hugh Jackman with a ball sack, nut sack hanging from his chin like a woggle, to Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt, I like Chris Pratt. A segment with him, you know, wanting to shit on Anna Faris, or Anna Faris wanting Chris Pratt to shit on her. Lee Schreiber and Naomi Watts as parents that are abusing their kid, and someone should call authorities. You know, torturing their kid in the shower. You know, in the shower, making fun of his pubes, and then Halle Berry in here. It's like, man, all this. Why do these people do the? Oh my God. Why did these people participate in this garbage? I don't get people that find this movie funny. I don't get it. A 4.3 on IMDb, way too high. And it's one of the worst comedies I've ever seen. I'm not joking. Because this film makes no sense. Segments that are thrown together that's not funny. And talent in here. I keep stressing that because I'm like, I like Chris Pratt. I like Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman, again, this is 2013, the same year he did The Wolverine. And I'm like, man, I'm surprised that this film didn't kill some careers. Or maybe even stopped some careers. Or, you know, because Chris Pratt just, you know, a year later did Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't... That's what I think about this movie. At the end of the day, to hell with movie 43. And I can go on and on. I'm sure there's stuff that I missed out. Stuff that I kind of skimmed over. But it's not worth my breath. It's not worth talking about. And yeah, I know it's getting dark in here. It's been like this all week. Just rain. And it perfectly sums up my mood. After watching this movie, again, I struggled. When it got to the hour mark, I'm like, man, I'm struggling. I'm really struggling. So, yeah, to hell with this movie. To hell with movie 43. Hashtag cancel movie 43 out of existence. I don't say that often. I hate the word cancel. I think it's overused. That people resort to wanting to cancel this and that, this and that, this and that. Cancel this movie out of existence. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for the talent that were involved, for the directors that were involved, like the likes of Fairley Brothers. I mean, you kind of expected that, but some of these directors that had involvement in this movie, what the fuck? I'm done. I don't know what else to say. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Rainbow for Life. Rainbow for Life, Matt. Great guy up here. Check out his channel. He suggested that I check out Going Overboard, but I was trying to, do 1 to 2 films each with the requests. So here you go. Hope you enjoyed this rant. But for people out there, hope you enjoyed this rant. Thank you for watching, and fuck.